Have you ever wondered about the different ways to break up with someone? Well, let's start with the classic, the face-to-face talk. This method is more about respect and honesty than anything else. It's about looking someone in the eyes and telling them the truth even when it's difficult. It's about acknowledging the bond you've shared, the memories you've made, and giving them the closure they deserve. Often this approach is considered the most mature and considerate, despite being the hardest. It takes a lot of courage to face someone and tell them it's over, but it's a crucial step in ending a relationship with dignity and respect. Choosing the right setting is also important. A private, comfortable place can make the conversation a bit easier. It's a space where both parties can express their feelings freely without the pressure of prying eyes. Remember, the key here is respect and honesty, even when it's hard. Now, let's move to a slightly different method, the phone breakup. It's a bit of a step back from the face-to-face approach, but sometimes it's the only option available, especially in long-distance relationships or during challenging times when meeting up just isn't feasible. The phone breakup has its own unique set of quirks. It lacks the personal touch of a face-to-face conversation, and there's a higher risk of misunderstandings due to the absence of visual cues. But remember, just because it's over the phone doesn't mean it should be any less respectful or considerate. Clear communication is your best friend here. Be straightforward but kind. Give them the reason, let them voice their feelings, and listen. It might be uncomfortable, but it's crucial for closure. Remember, breaking up is hard, whether in person or over the phone. In the end, it's about making sure your intent is clear, even if you can't be there in person. Next up, we have the written breakup, leaving a message or sending a text. Now, this approach can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it allows you to carefully craft your message, ensuring you say exactly what you mean in a clear, concise manner. This can be especially useful if you're worried about getting tongue-tied or overly emotional in a face-to-face conversation or a phone call. On the flip side, written breakups can come off as impersonal or even cowardly. It's easy to misinterpret tone in text, and the lack of immediate response can leave the other person feeling confused or hurt. The key here is to be direct and unambiguous. Avoid vague statements or cliches like "it's not you, it's me." Instead, express your feelings honestly and respectfully. Be kind but firm. Remember, breaking up is never easy, but how you do it can make a big difference. This method can be tricky, so be sure to write with care and sincerity. Ever thought about having a third party do the breaking up for you? Now hold on. Before you jump to conclusions, let's set the record straight. This method is generally seen as taboo, frowned upon, and let's be honest, it's considered pretty disrespectful. You're essentially passing the buck, delegating the responsibility of a personal matter to someone else. But let's explore this for a moment. There are scenarios where this might be the only option. In situations where there's a risk to your safety, or if the emotional toll is too heavy to bear, recruiting a third party could be a viable solution. It could be a friend, a family member, or even a professional service. However, remember that this method should be used sparingly. It's an exception, not the rule. Relationships are about communication and respect, even when they're ending. Though convenient, this method should be your last resort, unless absolutely necessary. Finally, we have the most controversial method, ghosting. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Ghosting? Really? But hear me out. Ghosting is the act of suddenly cutting off all communication with the person you're dating, without any explanation whatsoever. It's like you've vanished into thin air, hence the term ghosting. This method, while it may seem convenient for the one doing the ghosting, can be extremely emotionally damaging for the person on the receiving end. Imagine being left in limbo, unsure of what went wrong or why you're being ignored. It's a harsh method, often seen as a sign of disrespect. It can leave the other person feeling confused, hurt, and with a lot of unanswered questions. However, it's important to note that sometimes, for reasons such as personal safety, ghosting may be the only viable option. But remember, ghosting should be avoided unless there's a strong reason. Always strive to respect the other person's feelings.